Boys, welcome in after week one of football. It's back, and you guys look very happy after going through an entire week of fantasy football. What what what's with the happy faces, guys?
1-0 across the board. I got Club Dub going behind me, so welcome in. Chris, hell of a victory last week there, bud.
Yeah, thanks. And this may be like the first time in Moose Knuckle podcast history that us three have all won the same week. Like, if we go back to the tapes from last year, I don't think it happened. There's no way it ever happened. So it's good to be back in the winner's circle.
Only downhill from here, I guess.
We look like we got some strong squads. Chris, probably the strongest out of all of us here, sitting in first place. But hey, he's got a tough opponent in week two. Tougher opponent, I should say. But Chris, speaking on the league, why don't you get in a quick hits recap and tell us a little bit about the league in week one?
Yeah, definitely. Hitting it with the quick hits for week one. Certified beefer of the week was myself. Cranberry cheddar sausages. Shout out Reams and Elburn. Threw up 189.59 points. The good news is for me is that I only needed to start 4 players to beat the guy who was the lowest scoring team this week in Dietrich a bitch. He's been here before, guys. An abysmal 76.5 points in a full point PPR league. You might as well not show up. That was just a pitiful performance. But MVPs for week one, Patrick Mahomes with 44.9 points. He says, I don't need you, Tyreek Hill. Throws for 360 yards, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Guys, the Chiefs were the most dominant team this weekend. What were your thoughts after seeing Patrick Mahomes just light them up?
He lit up the field, and he got everybody involved along the way. So, yeah, you're riding high right now. Every pass catcher got a little love. Even Pacheco got out on the field last week. So even the rookie got some love. You love to see it.
Absolutely. I mean, after we saw the performance of Josh Allen on Thursday, you're like, there's no one that's going to score more than Josh Allen this week. And sure enough, Patty Mahomes gets it done on that fast-flying offense. I happened to go against CEH this week, and I was down on him this year, made him look good. Good job, Patty.
That's right. And let's not bury the lead here, Chris. You had Justin Jefferson lining up for 9 catches, $184, and 2 touchdowns. That must have felt good.
Guys, Justin Jefferson's my guy. He won me my first ship. He helped me avoid Saka last year. If he gets me to the playoffs this year, I may be wearing purple to the 2023 draft. I'm just saying, just not a little spoiler alert, but I think I owe that guy a jersey for the last 3 years of my fantasy football career. But rounding out the quick hits, consensus fab picks. Guys, the guy had a great week last week. He's back. He's healthy. Curtis Samuel, Mr. Gavin, beer extraordinaire, gets him for $30, so 30% of his overall budget blown on Curtis Samuel. Dietrich, I think you predicted this last week. I could have been wrong, but man, Curtis Samuel for 30% of the overall fab. You did not place a bet. Tony, I didn't see you in there at all either for him. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, for me, I think you got to think about Washington as a whole. I think that was a huge surprise. You got Carson Wentz throwing for, 313 and 4 tutties? And you even got my boy Jahan Dotson involved too. I think there's some points to go around there in Washington. So a lot to be excited about there. What do you think, Tony?
I mean, I love Carson Wentz so much that I dropped Matt Ryan for him in our Liga record. And I remember on our Liga FFLOP, you're like, we got to get Jahan Dotson. I'm like, who? And sure enough, here he is. We're talking about him, and I am well aware of him now. So, very surprising week one from the Commanders.
Yeah, of course, they did it against the Jags, who blew the second half. Just abysmal performance of them. So, I digress. I could talk about Duval all day. But, Tony, some injuries after week one, right?
Yeah, there's going to be injuries every week. This week hurts the most, though. You're so excited to see your man come roll out, and then you get taken out for weeks, months, seasons. And to top the list, I think we got to talk about Dak Prescott with his broken thumb, getting surgery. He's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks. How do you guys see this fare for Dallas? If you guys have any stock in it, what are you guys doing with it?
Whew, I don't know, Chris. What are you thinking? This is a big downgrade for all pass catchers as well as the run game and Zeke Elliott. Do you try to trade CeeDee Lamb right now before the week 2 games just to see if you can get any value? Because I think his stock's just going to continue to dip.
Yeah, I'm playing the guy who owns CeeDee Lamb. I hope he starts him. I'm not high on their pass catchers at all. I'd probably be more high on Tony Pollard and Zeke Elliott with dump offs. Like, I think Tony Pollard could be a big winner here on the dump off passes. Cooper Rush, I don't think is the answer in Dallas, but Jerry Jones should have been on the phone in the first half of that game with the 49ers and saying, "I'll give you a fourth. If we make the playoffs, that fourth turns into a second round pick for next year because it's only week 1." I think Dallas' season is over. I really do, guys.
Yeah, and they're already dead last in their division. They're the only team that didn't win in that division, so it's tough sledding. And I agree, Chris. I don't know if Cooper Rush has got what it takes.
Yeah, they had a lot of injuries on the O line. They had another one, I think, this week as well. I think they lost one of their guards. But yeah, now they're down Dak. It's going to be hard to pull back from that. I dropped Gallup in our league record, and it's just for uncertainty, and I don't see anyone picking them up. Going on from Dallas's quarterback, we'll move on to New England's Mac Jones. He had some back spasms. Obviously, X-rays are negative, but he is probable this week. Who was it?
Mike Jones.
Mac Jones.
Guys, this offense didn't look good. I don't know if you caught any of this Patriots game, but you got to fade all pass catchers on this New England team right now. I just don't think they got what it takes to produce for your fantasy team. I think Jacoby Myers is probably the only one I feel like you could have any confidence in.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I've got some Devontae Parker stock right now. I'm going to give him one more week, and if not, probably cut bait.
D, I agree. This is not the typical New England team. Dolphins look pretty good, I thought. Tua's still getting shit, and I was like, God, why is Tua still getting some shit? But Tyreek Hill was still that guy.
Jalen Waddle's still that guy.
Jalen Waddle is still that guy, and Chase Edmonds did not have a bad week out of the backfield either. I think this is maybe a wild card team for the Miami Dolphins, but you hit it on Meyer. I liked him, and then Damian Harris as well. I think he can. They're going to end up running the ball if Mac Jones's back hurts and lingers throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Harris over Ramondre as well. I think that's the move. I agree with you 100%.
All right, other than Dak Prescott, I think this is probably the second biggest injury of the week. Elijah Mitchell, running back of San Francisco, out with the MCL sprain. And that's going to be even longer than Dak. In about 2 months, we're looking at not having Elijah Mitchell there. So with Elijah out, obviously the rookie from last year, Trey Sermon's out. So we had a lot of shuffled pieces here, and we're all trying to put it together, the fantasy community at large. And, who's going to come out of this? We got Wilson, Price, and that undrafted rookie Mason is very interesting there. He was actually active while the drafted rookie was inactive last week. So if you guys had to pick from the three and rank them, how would you rank them?
Oh my goodness, Chris, this is code red for me. This is Eli Mitchell coming off a season that, what did he have? 4 different injuries last season too, and then week 1 gets hurt. We did get to see Jeff Wilson get the majority of touches when the injury occurred. He didn't look great either. Granted, the rain was substantial at Soldier Field, so I don't know how much you can kind of, what kind of insight you can get from this game. It was a wreck from the start, and Tyron Davis-Price was inactive for week 1. Who knows what week 2 will bring? And then I got some news of another running back joining the pup squad coming later in the segment here that I don't know how you can rank him. I guess Jeff Wilson's at the top, but Davis-Price might be right behind him.
Yeah, and behind all of them is Deebo Samuel. Like I think Deebo is just going to be like, hey, you're going to the backfield. You got paid. Like we need you to help carry this team because Sean Payton said it on the Herd today. He goes, he thinks there's 2 quarterbacks who are going to be replaced at some point this season. I agree on one of them. I think it's going to be Trey Lance. Jimmy G's still there. I think he's going to be replaced. And Tua is going to be replaced, which I don't even know who the hell the backup is in Miami, but he just thinks he's going to lose his job. But, as for Elijah, the guy's glass. He is glass. You stay away from the 49ers backfield. They've been cursed for years, ever since Frank Gore left. I can't remember of a decent 49er running back since Frank Gore. So steer clear for the rest of the season. I wouldn't even waste any waiver wire pickups on Jeff Wilson Jr. either.
You got Teddy Bridgewater behind Tua.
And I like Bridgewater. I think he's a serviceable guy.
I think you're right. I'm with you. You got to get Wilson first, Price second, and then Mason probably third for me. But moving on to another running back, Najee Harris. It was his foot coming out of week 1. Negative tests. He's probable this week, but a little bit of a scare there. And you saw that on the waiver wires. And you guys get some of that backup stock for Pittsburgh?
Yeah, Jaylen Warren's the hot new name on the street there. I don't know if you're going to have to put him to use. Sounds like Najee Harris might go for week 2, but it's worth, as somebody who's a Najee owner, it's worth the investment of 30-40% of your budget just to have this backfield shored up. Other than that, it's a little bit of a dart throw, but it might pay you dividends. We'll see what the practice reports look like throughout the week.
Yeah, it was a Lisfranc injury, right? That was the injury on the foot. I think that was close to the same injury that Etienne suffered in the preseason last year, and he was done for the year. So I think this is going to linger on. I think if he gives it a go, you could see him maybe risking hurting it even more. So this is something you're probably going to have to monitor for the rest of the season. So D, you hit it on the head. Invest the fab now just to secure the backfield.
Moving on to Chris Godwin, wide receiver, Tampa Bay, had a hamstring strain. So he was questionable coming into week 1. He played, and now he's injured again. Looking like a few weeks, we probably won't have Godwin. Any questions, comments, concerns? Typical Godwin.
Did you guys get a chance to see this Bucks injury report that they put out today?
No.
It's got Tom Brady with a did not participate, Mike Evans with a calf, Leonard Fournette with a hamstring, Russell Gage with a hamstring, Chris Godwin with a hamstring, Julio Jones with a knee, Brashad Perriman with a knee. This is everybody's banged up on this Bucks offense. I don't know what to think of it, guys.
Who do the Bucks play this week?
Ooh, good question, Christopher.
They play the Saints. It's a divisional game.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Maybe they're just resting them. They say, hey, we need you full participant on Sunday and going at it. So veterans get the day off. I love the Todd Bowles move.
I can't believe I'm looking at this top 25 quarterback list from week 1. Tom Brady's not on it. So I'm scrolling to the bottom. Oh, man. That's crazy. Justin Fields is, though. Brian Robinson. We all know this man got shot. But we do have a probable week 5 return after he got shot. It's amazing return. It's amazing what modern medicine can do. But we also saw the guy who somewhat stepped in or had the role prior to Brian Robinson's draft, Antonio Gibson. We saw him fading quite a bit here in drafts as we came up to August. He fell in our leagues that I think we've seen as a value, and he went off. He had a ton of volume this week. What are you guys thinking about Antonio Gibson?
He looked great, and I think you're getting great value, like you said, Tony. I mean, this guy produced. He looked incredible lining up, catching a bunch of balls in this game, too. Lot to like about what you saw. Hopefully the fumble problem doesn't creep up again for him. But if he keeps this up, incredible value of where he was being drafted.
Guys, full disclosure, if I got shot anywhere in my body, my foot, my hand, whatever, there's no way I'm going to be able to not only play football, but leave my bed for a minimum of 3 months. So the fact that this guy is just a beast, I'm rooting for him. But Antonio Gibson just had a fantastic week one and silenced the haters. I mean, he's only a couple seasons off from being a top 15 fantasy back, so it's not like a big shock to us. It's just this Brian Robinson guy is just a legend. I mean, he gets shot and he comes back 2 months later to play professional football. So I'm rooting for the guy.
Right. Yeah. Not only do you have to come back from being shot, but you have to perform like the best of 32 people in a league of professionals. I know. Amazing. Another running back, Ty Montgomery, New England, out with a knee. Had really good, I think, start to the game, and unfortunately, it's going to be a lot longer injury here. He's going to injured reserve.
Yeah, Montgomery had a 37% snap share, more than Ramondre Stevenson week one, led the backfield in routes run and in targets, out for at least 4 weeks. And we talked about it a little bit, earlier. Harris or Stevenson these next few weeks. Chris and I both agree. I think this is a Harris play for the coming next few games.
Yeah, absolutely. But, Ty Montgomery is just the ultimate journeyman. I feel like 3 years ago, but it's been way longer than that. He was like that guy for the Packers for a little bit, D. And he's like on his fourth team. So rooting for him for a speedy recovery. And like I said, to, come back strong on another team, I'm going to guess. But Tony, round it off.
All right. Last but not least, we got Mr. Kittle. Kills and bits. He missed week one. With groin, but unfortunately, he's still not practicing this week. Are we going to see him week 2, guys?
I don't know. It's questionable. I don't know if we're going to get a chance, and I don't know if Kevin Arway, who invested some high draft capital in our league, is going to be able to utilize this man. This is always an issue that you've seen year in and year out with George Kittle, and it creeped up on week one for us. It's disappointing to see it because he's such a talent. He would be such a benefit for Trey Lance. This man needs to get healthy because when he's on the field, he is absolutely electric.
Yeah, he's the 3 tight end in fantasy behind Andrews and Kelsey for sure when he's healthy. So, but again, that 49ers team just gets hit with injuries. It's the same injuries every year. Running back and George Kittle. You could practically bet on it. So you hate seeing a guy go through his career on this in his prime.
Yeah, outside of these injuries, I think that there were probably some others that had some interesting practice squad signings. You want to walk us through those, Matty D?
Yeah, perfect segue, Chris, because we're talking about 49ers again, and another body to add to that running back room to make things even more confusing. But at least it's the pup squad for now. But 49ers signed Marlon Mack, depth piece. For fantasy implications, probably not much value there, but just another guy to give you just an absolute headache. And for Shanahan, for his Shanahanigans that he's throwing here, difficult to know what direction he goes for the backfield there in San Fran. And then the Saints, they signed Latavius Murray. I think this one's more interesting, guys, because I think this alludes to the Alvin Kamara rib injury probably being a little bit more serious than we had initially thought. What are your guys' thoughts here?
Rib injuries are going to linger, and I agree. This is a guy, Latavius Murray, who knows the Saints pretty well. So I think Ingram is back on the Saints as well. So it's like those 3 running backs always find their way back to New Orleans. So I agree, D. I think rib injuries are nothing to mess with. Kamara does take a lot of hits, and that's going to linger all season.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, where Ingram can pound it, maybe Latavius can get some passive work out the flats. So, it's going to take 2 guys to do what Kamara could do himself.
But they picked 2 old guys, Tony. Like old reliables in New Orleans.
Yeah, and this is talk about another guy in Kamara that fell in drafts a little bit and looked like a bit of a value, and now you're seeing injuries kind of get in the way of that. It's disappointing, and this backfield might get murky. We'll see what comes of it in the coming weeks. Guys, I'll shift gears here. There's a couple of, I like to call this segment, Is This Anything? This is a couple of guys that went off in week one, and maybe these were some guys that got picked up or signed a few years ago. Maybe these are just names that just fell in draft boards, maybe even gone undrafted in many redraft leagues. and now you see them popping off, and you're making that decision like, hey, do I drop a guy that I was high on? I drafted this person. It's week one. It's after the week one games, and now I'm thinking about dropping them in favor of some of these guys. Like to get your thoughts on it and just see if this is a trend that you think will continue to be something, or this is just maybe a blip on the radar that we saw in week one. So my first, why don't I start here at Robbie Anderson, guys? 5 targets for 100 or 5 passes, sorry, for 102 yards and a touchdown. He had 8 targets total. What's the move here, guys, in Carolina?
Yeah, I think look, he's getting acclimated there. The quarterback, I want to call him Barker, but it's Baker. Baker Mayfield getting acclimated there in Carolina, and I think we're going to see him have a much better offense moving forward. You saw when McCaffrey got the ball, he did stuff with it, right? And that's going to help him to be able to push that ball down the field. But is it going to be Robbie or is it going to be DJ moving forward? I think DJ got covered by some pretty good coverage this week, and that's not always going to be the case. So I think some of that volume will probably fall off of Robbie, and we'll see DJ, number 6 wide receiver, still standing by that on the year.
Thank God you said that because I was going to bring it up to your face. I love Robbie Anderson now. I think Robbie was a little upset that Carolina traded for Baker earlier this offseason. And look, he has 100 yards and a touchdown. I think he's a solid number 2 there. I think, like Tony said, DJ's going to, be the number 1 throughout the entire season. But I think Robbie Gould is a really good flex play in a PPR league.
I think I might agree with you, Chris. I think he's flex worthy. And that was a really interesting game. Looking back at the highlights of that Carolina-Cleveland game, Cleveland just absolutely dominated the time of possession. I think it was Carolina's fewest ran plays in a game in the last decade or so. So it was very interesting. And Robbie made the most of the plays that he had. So that might continue, but nothing more than a flex or a flyer or fill-in, I think, for certain weeks. Guys, another one I want to talk about, Devin Duvernay for Baltimore. 4 for 54 and 2 touchdowns. Can this possibly continue?
I'll take this one, Tony. I had no idea who this guy was until week 1. So I'm still going to say no on this. I think Andrews is going to have a better game than he did week 1. I think Bateman's going to be the number 1 wide receiver there. Dobbins is going to come back. This is still a run-heavy offense first with Lamar. So you may get these every 4 games from Devin, but tell you what, man, Orlick is loving this guy. He's going to end up in Orlick's number 1 wide receiver slot this week, just because it's Orlick. So he loves this guy.
As the Bateman owner, I too was like, who is this guy creeping in on my Bateman stock? Right. But I agree. Bateman got 5 targets to Duvernay's 4. I'm not sure what Andrews got on the week, but at some low volume, we'll see better weeks. They got to get that running room in order. We've got a lot of injuries there, so the team will get better moving forward as long as Lamar can stay healthy.
Well said, boys. This next one's a tricky one too. Michael Thomas. 5 for 57 and 2 touchdowns. 5 for 57. A very Michael Thomas game here. But guys, is this the return or is this a trade candidate for people that drafted the man? What direction is this going to go as we get farther into the season?
I like Michael, man. This gave me confidence in his return. 8 for 5 for 57. It doesn't look great. It looks like, he had 2 touchdowns to really have the point total he had there. But this was a good coverage that they had on New Orleans. And you saw a lot of Jarvis Landry this week too, kind of going across the center. We also had, he made these points, and we had Jameis was out, right, for a portion of the game. So, he came out with a stat line, and hey, as long as Jameis comes back, are we expecting him back week 2? Do we know?
You're talking about Jameis?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You said Jameis twice. I was like, what the hell is Jameis? So yes, I think he's back. I think Michael Thomas is that guy. We just talked about Kamara, maybe with a little rib injury. I think Michael Thomas slant routes all day. Jarvis Landry 8, like you said, Tony. But Jameis had a hell of a game. So I think the Saints offense is going to click, and Michael Thomas could see 100 catch season this year.
Spicy. This Saints team looked great in general. You got that Taysom Hill wild card package too. That he popped off for a big time run and looked great and filling in for Jameis. And I think Jameis finished as quarterback 5 or 6 on the week, 269 and 2 touchdowns. Love to see it. Got Olave involved in the game too, so he spread the ball around. I think Jarvis Landry had over 100 yards in this game as well. So this might be a high-powered New Orleans offense here. A couple of people I saw on the NFL Network were calling this a Super Bowl bound team. So we'll see what comes of it. And go ahead, Chris.
Before we move on to the next guy, this offense reminded me of the last year's Cincinnati Bengals early, right? You see Joe Burrow coming out hot. I mean, a shit week last week, but coming out hot. All 3 receivers eating well. Joe Mixon's getting, was having a career year. So if they play like this could be a very good team come the fall, winter time.
Well said, my man.
Absolutely.
You guys already know my love for this man, but Jahan Dotson, 3 for 40, 2 touchdowns. Guys, I'll come out and say it. I think this rookie takes the lead in Washington. I think Terry McLaurin is going to be the 1B to Jahan Dotson 1A. This guy has what it takes to lead this team, and Wentz was looking his way early and often. I think this is the future of the franchise.
Wow. Well, I have to play the devil's advocate here because to Jahan Dotson's 5 targets, Curtis Samuel got 11. So, I mean, that was the pickup of the week. I think we agree. Mm-hmm. How do you see that playing out? And then just for context, Terry McLaurin had 4. And Logan Thomas is still there with 6 targets. So, Wentz is doing well. He's spreading the ball out. And even Antonio Gibson got 8 targets. So he's playing a lot of offense and he's spreading the ball out. But I definitely see, him being a rookie coming out and getting 5 targets. Let's show some confidence from a quarterback.
Yeah, if I was to rank him, I'd still rank McLaurin 1. Dotson 2, and I would even go Samuel 3. I know he had the most target shares, but I do like Dotson better than Samuel for the rest of the season. And Terry just, he got double covered by that stout Jacksonville secondary. So just wasn't going to see anything that game besides that late touchdown.
Guys, is this Washington team like sneaky good? I mean, if Wentz plays good Carson Wentz football, can this team go places this year?
Hey. I know. I mean, I see this Curtis Samuel. He had 4 rushing attempts too. I mean, this could be a new Debo Cordell Patterson this year.
Well said.
I like the Patterson comparison for sure, but we said the same thing last year about Wentz too. Hey, the Colts look good. Wentz is the quarterback, second coming, and look at I don't know. I had no Commanders on my radar this year, so I can't really comment too much on them. I stayed away from the Commanders far in between, throughout the draft process. So,
boys, I'll end it with this one just because it's a funny stat line. Our good friend of the podcast, O.J. Howard, after we shat all over him, 2 targets. 2 touchdowns. This can't be real, right? We're living in a simulation of some kind. Guys, come on, talk me off the ledge here. Nobody should be picking up O.J. Howard in leagues, right? Am I right?
Yeah. I wouldn't. What a game by Houston last week to get that tie in a divisional round. I think Cooks is going to eat there. I think Nico Collins is going to have a better game. The guy in Houston we're talking is, Dameon Pierce, he was non-existent in the game. So very concerning there. But I would stay far between away from O.J. Howard for sure.
mean, you don't like that efficiency? 2 targets, 2 receptions, 2 touchdowns? It's an anomaly. I mean, OJ was passed around the league, and Houston's like, "Yeah, bring that big body in here. We'll throw him out there when we need him." And
Guys, I think he was only on the field like 17% or something of the whole game. And this guy's a killer in efficiency, man. Maybe we were missing something. All right, guys, nicely done. I'll round it out by a couple of week 1 worries, and maybe you can kind of agree with me or think that better days are ahead. But guys, let's focus on these 2 LA Rams players. Cam Akers, what happened? There was no action in this Thursday night football. Is he buried on the depth chart? Is there something more to this? Is the injury still kind of hindering his ability to play? Like, what do draft owners, what do fantasy owners do with Cam Akers?
Yeah, there has to be some. Go ahead, Chris.
Cam has a big week this week. McVay already said today that Akers is going to have a chance to prove himself in week 2. So I like him for a comeback player this week.
Yeah, that kind of speaks to what I was going to say about there has to be some type of locker room or personality type of issue here for maybe them to sit and then McVay to come out and say something like that. He's going to have a chance to prove it, right? So we'll see.
And then the other guy on the Rams, Allen Robinson. Everybody was very high on him. His draft capital was high and mighty. And what did we get? 2 catches, I think? And I think a lot of that was in the towards the garbage time kind of end of the game. Allen Robinson was just not getting – he wasn't even getting – that side of the field wasn't even getting looked at. Stafford was targeting Higbee. He was calling Cooper Kupp, all the other guys on the field. Robinson was a no-show. Is this something to be concerned about?
Yeah, I would. I'm definitely concerned. If I was McVay, I'd sit them down, or I'd at least sit Stafford down and show him, hey, Robinson was definitely open at certain points, and he just wasn't looking his way, like you said. We need to correct this, and we'll see if they do correct it.
They sure invested in him. I mean, that was a pretty worthwhile contract to bring him into LA, and boy, you'd like to get more utilization out of that, Chris. Are you hitting the panic button on Robinson?
Not yet. We all know what he's capable of. He's had a quiet couple years in Chicago, but Tony hit the nail on the head. McVay has to sit Stafford down and say, "Hey, Cooper Kupp may be open, but if we just keep giving Cooper Kupp 15 targets a game and he catches 11 of them, we're going to be a pretty one-dimensional team, right? Like." He needs to call plays where Allen Robinson is the first look instead of Cooper, because that's going to diversify the offense a little bit better. So maybe it's on McVay instead of Stafford. Maybe it's a coaching issue as well.
Well said. Well, Chris, I'm going to turn the floor to you. I think this is our favorite segment, and I'm so excited that it's back. It's Barker's Bets. I'm ready to open up my FanDuel app. Tell me where to place some money, man, because I'm ready to get after it this week.
Dietrich, I love it. I'm going to start with the Thursday night game because I want to hear you guys have to go on this. So Thursday night, we've got a gem. LA Chargers at Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City is giving 4.5. Over-under right now is 54.5. Notable injuries, Keenan Allen is out this week, and Harrison Butker is also out for the Chiefs in the short week. But I think that Justin Reed guy, that safety.
I'm playing the guy who has Harrison Butker, and he's still in his lineup.
Oh, sorry. Hopefully he doesn't listen to the show. Got it. But, but Justin Reed, the safety or cornerback for them, has a leg, so it'll be interesting to see what Kansas City does in this short week. As for me, I gotta go Austin Eckler anytime touchdown. Justin Herbert last week had 3. I think Austin Eckler is still the guy. He's gonna get 1. I think that's a mortal lock right there. Okay. Second, Travis Kelce is still that guy in that offense. He is a touchdown. This is a high-scoring game. Another lock. Travis Kelce touchdown. I would parlay that with – I have no idea how this game is going to go. They're missing their kicker. I don't know what the hell is going to happen there. Chargers are missing their number 1 wide receiver. Short week. Big game of the year in Arrowhead. I will take Chiefs money line. So Eckler, Kelsey, Chiefs parlay, $10 nets you 33 back. Tony, who do you like?
Ooh, I don't know if I'd pick anyone in this scenario, but I would smash the over for sure. This is going to be a shootout back and forth, two high offenses, and the over is already 54.5, right? It's a very high line, and I'm still
They just
smashing
lowered it to 53.5. So
Did
you're
they?
luck.
Oh, all right. Smash it twice.
But, that's why I do like, anytime touchdowns when the over is like right around 53, 54.5. Because it's like, all right, if you bet kind of the two favorites, one on each team, those should be pretty locks right there. And then take the team, the favorite in a money line for a parlay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for me, guys, I was looking at some alternative bets here. I'm going to take the Chargers plus 9.5 for the alternative spread. And then I'm going to go with Tony's boy, Gerald Everett, scooping up a tutty in this game. I think it's possible. I think he's getting a ton of looks. This guy is he's getting way more attention in that offense than I believed. And I think that this isn't a blip on the radar. I think this is going to be a trend you see in LA. They're getting those big body tight ends, and they're looking their way more often than not. So I'm going to go with him, and then I also added an alternative receiving yards bet of Marquez Valdes-Scantling to get at least 25 yards in this game, and Austin Eckler to catch a couple balls and get 25 receiving yards in this game. So $20 on that's going to net me 109. So decent return for a lot of these alternative bets that I'm placing for the Thursday night.
So what does that mean for Tony's other boy and keeper, Mike Williams, if his boy Gerald Everett is catching tutties? It seems like Tony wants to hear some Mike Evans, who had a very quiet week one.
I think his role expands dramatically with the loss of Keenan Allen. He only saw 4 targets in that Chargers opener, and I think it's going to be increased. I think it's Justin Herbert, as I alluded to earlier, is going to spread the ball around, but Mike Williams is going to be a go-to man for him in this game. And like Tony mentioned, you're going to have to put up points to play with the Chiefs. Taking the over, I think, is a smart move, in my opinion. And Mike Williams is going to have to be a part of that.
Agreed.
I appreciate that. I know he didn't get a lot of looks, but yeah, Keenan Allen being out, and Carter was getting a lot of looks last week. That's not going to continue. They're going to go to Mike. So
major bounce back.
That's one.
Major bounce back. Agreed. So, guys, Jaguars shit the bed, but they did cover last week, which was good for me. Jacksonville Jaguars are getting 4.5 against the Colts. They beat the Colts at the end of the season last year. I'm going to take the Jags at 4.5 and then the over at 44.5. I think it will be a high-scoring game down in Jacksonville. So that's you can't bet anytime touchdowns this week, but James Robinson had 2. Like, James Robinson was that guy last week, right? Like, hey, I'm back from the injury. Like, he looked good. They're gonna focus. They're gonna run the ball next week with ETN. They're gonna touch the ball a lot. So, who do you guys like on the Go ahead.
You think this is going to be a turnaround game, and this is going to be an ETN week?
See, I don't. That's what I was going to ask you guys. Like, because Christian Kirk had a great game for PPR, just didn't get in the end zone. ETN dropped an easy touchdown pass. Evan Ingram is the guy in the end zone. Who do you like for Jaguars anytime touchdown this week? It's not, no odds are out yet, but just curiosity.
I'm gonna avoid Evan Ingram as much as I possibly can. So I'm gonna stay far away from him. Chris, I'm tending to lean towards the James Robinson side. I think this might be Robinson's backfield, and ETN might be the change of pace passing down guy. So great for PPR upside, but I think the touchdowns might go to Robinson.
I agree. If you were between the two running backs, for sure Robinson. And I mean, my second on the list, even before ETN, would probably be Christian Kirk with 12 targets. Second to that was Zay Jones with 9. And I gotta be honest, Lawrence didn't look great in the first half, or at least the first quarter. I was watching the game. I was like, I almost put Kirk on a trading block. I was like, until he gets another quarterback, get this guy out of here. But he turned it on. He knocked the rust off and finished strong. So that would be my 1 and 2, Robinson and Kirk.
Yeah, and I'm always going to support the guy, but he's not a quarterback, and he's going to throw the ball 42 times to win the game. They've got two solid running backs. If they're throwing that much, it's not good. And ETN nor Robinson touched the ball as much as they should, so they're going to be a run heavy offense next week. But guys, it's Bears Packers week. We love this week. And it's always Sunday night football, right? We just know it's early in September, either week 1, week 2. It's Sunday night football. We bank on it. The Bears had a weird game last week. I have no idea how to judge the Bears after the monsoon game. Like they beat the 49ers at home, but
I think you throw it out. You throw it out.
You have to. You have to throw it out, right? We did not see the 49ers or the Chicago Bears in week 1. We have no idea what these two teams are capable of. However, we did see what the Packers are capable of without a true number 1 wide receiver, and they are dog shit, Dietrich. That is a bad team. And we've seen Rodgers be bad early in September, and he says RELAX, right? That's what you're going to tell Tony and I? Relax. You're sweating right now. I can tell. So, but keep quiet, quick, because I'm not done yet. Keep quiet.
I'm a little sweaty.
I can tell. I can tell. It's probably because you're doing ecstasy in your strobe light room right now. But that's beside the point. However, Bears 9.5 they're getting 9.5. I'm taking the 9.5. I'm taking the under at 42.5 because I have no idea what the hell these two teams are capable of. This has like a 17-20 game all over it, a total snooze fest. But the guy I am betting to score a touchdown, Big Bob Tonyan. Big Bob Tonyan is projected for 10 points. He is in my flex. I am running a 2 tight end set against Reese this week with Kelsey and Big Bob Tonyan. He is going to eat the rest of the season because that wide receiver core is dog shit in Green Bay.
All right, do I get a rebuttal here?
Yeah, well, of course. But I mean, you're sweating, so.
Well, I'd like to take the opportunity to remind you guys that this is an improved Green Bay Packers because they only scored 3 points in the season opener last year. They scored 7. All right, so there's improvement. All right, let me point that out real quick. Secondly, yes, it is 9.5 on FanDuel. I mean, that tells you enough. The Packers are going to come back, and Aaron Rodgers, I think you both know this. He owns Chicago. He is the owner of the Chicago Bears. So he's going to come in. This game, it's going to be what is it at, Chris? 42.5. He's going to score 42 for Green Bay. So we're going to see Sammy Watkins. We're going to see the return of Alan Lazard. I think that was the key issue is he didn't have his number 1. The number 1 wide receiver on this team, whether that sounds gross or not, is Alan Lazard. He's going to put up big points, and you know it just as much as anyone else, Chris. This guy was on the Jags. He can go up and he can grab a ball. He's a big dude. So Alan Lazard is a no-joke wide receiver 1, and I think he's going to play that way. And I 1,000% agree with you that Big Bob Tonyan is going to be heavily involved in this Packers team. And I think it was an anomaly what you saw with Aaron Jones last week. I think he's going to get tons more attention in this game against Chicago. You're going to continue to see Dylan, and you're going to continue to see Dylan in PPR formats getting a great bump because this guy is not only a big-bodied bruiser running back, but he can catch the ball too. I think you're going to see Dylan lined up in the fullback position, and he's going to be running routes. So he's going to be a dual threat, versatile running back for this team. So I think you're going to see them come out and just smack Chicago. That's my thoughts. He's going to score 42 on his own.
Oh man, jeez, it's going to come back like the poor performance they put up week 1. It's just an anomaly. That's what happens. You sometimes you do ayahuasca and you forget everything about football, and then you play a week, and then you come back and it all comes back to you, right?
You guys are seemingly forgetting that this was the story last year. Remember, the Packers got written off. Jameis Winston put up like 35 points against Green Bay. The Packers were screwed. The franchise was doomed. It was going to be Jordan Love. It was all you heard all the things, and look what happened. Another MVP season from Aaron Rodgers. So no need to hit the panic button just yet.
You know what else happened? He cut off his holy hair. I think that was a piece of him, and it's gone now. That went with him on his journey, and it's now gone. You don't do that. You don't do that, Aaron. That's part of who you are.
Could have been a factor.
God.
But no, I agree. Aaron Jones will be bigger against Chicago. He was pretty quiet week 1. A.J. Dillon is that guy with Orsley having him as a 5th-round keeper for this year. Looks like pretty good value so far. And if anything happens there, yeah, that's good keeper. But for the people who did buy low on Big Bob Tonyan after seeing week 1 and his first game back, I'm pretty confident he's going to be that guy this season.
Let me also do one more prediction on this. There's going to be another big time shot play to Christian Watson because Rodgers is this type of guy that he goes for that redemption. So they're going to line up a big go route to Christian Watson, and if he drops this pass again, he should just grab an Uber. Don't even finish the game. Leave the stadium in pads because he's done. He's written off. So it's like Rodgers will never throw him the ball again. So he's going to get a second chance. It's going to be Christian Watson has unbelievable speed. So he's going to break away from a DB, and he better be ready to catch it this time.
He better be.
Not any of the Bears DBs.
Yeah, he better be ready to run into the return of Eddie Jackson. He's back, baby. He's back.
First interception since the pandemic in Eddie Jackson. Welcome back.
He's been eating his Bojacks. Oh, yeah, baby.
Jesus. Tell me, that's the most embarrassing thing you've shown on this podcast.
Don't forget your breakfast. Anyways, I agree with you, Chris. I'm smashing that plus 9.5. That is an insult. And we didn't get a great line last week and won the game, man. Just we're going to get it done. And we know the game script that we have to play in order to have a chance. And we played it well. And yeah, I understand the circumstances last week. There was a 12th man on the field and it was rain, right? But I think we got the job done. We played the game script we needed to play, and we're going to be able to see the speed of Darnell Mooney and our 2 running backs. It's definitely a committee that we're not used to. While Fields is rolling out, and Komet, zero targets, and people are high on him. I think this is going to be more of a defensive battle than you guys think. Green Bay, great defense, right? And I think there are some offensive issues there in Green Bay. So I also agree with Chris in smashing the under on this line as well. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, man. A lot of questions on both sides of the balls after week 1. And
FanDuel is listening to our podcast right now because the under has now dropped from 42.5 to 41.5. So they're listening to the Moose Knuckle Fantasy Football podcast right now. Yeah, I'm telling you, I don't know why I'm on the Bears. I was watching just some Instagram videos today, and like the team wants to play for Eberflus, and I dogged this guy all offseason. I'm like, hey, if you want to rally behind this guy, he praised Luke Getsy this week. He already said he's like, Luke Getsy is a Getsy? What is it?
Getsy.
Yeah,
Help me out. Getsy, right? He goes, Luke Getsy is a damn good coach. And of course, he says it during Packers week just to get under Matt LaFleur. He's playing with his mind too. Like, I really like this to be like, Rodgers, the North is now the Vikings. It's not the Bears, but I think if Packers could go 0-2 against divisional opponents to start the season, Vikings got tire away.
Run away
Yeah,
with
like it or
sure.
not, for Matt LaFleur, this is a huge game. Huge game. He needs to get this win, and Packers are in dire straits if they go 0-2 here. They really are. I don't see it happening, but could be dangerous for them if they slip on this one. There's a lot of crazy lines this week, guys. Throughout FanDuel, you look at them. You got 9.5 Buffalo favorite over Tennessee. You got. Let me see, there was another 9.5 I was looking at. Oh, the Broncos are favored 9.5 points over the Texans.
Yeah.
And the Rams are favored 10.5 over Atlanta.
Another game that I like Seahawks. Again, after not seeing the 49ers last week, I love the Seahawks getting 8.5 against the 49ers. I don't know why, but like the Seahawks just look like one of those teams. All right, we're not going to turn the ball over much. Geno is a veteran. They've got 2 veteran receivers. Will Disley, second coming of him being a top tight end, maybe a top 12 tight end this year. They're getting Walker the third back this week as well, so we get to see him. So 8.5 seems like a lot early this season. So I do like them at 8.5.
I find myself rooting for Geno. I really do.
Me too.
I liked his post-game speech in week 1. He threw for 195 and 2 touchdowns. You do get the return of Ken Walker, but let's not throw shade at Rashad Penny. He ran like a freaking freight train down the field. He was blasting guys. He looks like he's in incredible shape. I hope he stays healthy throughout the season because he looks like he'd be an exciting running back to watch throughout the season.
Yeah, that's veteran versus rookie, right? With Trey Lance there at the helm. And when Russ was out last year, he was serviceable, Geno, and now he's getting his chance to be the guy and has all through camp been the guy with these. So he's going to come out even better than when he was just picking up the ball from Russ when he was out. And it was a very interesting performance week 1.
Yeah, I was watching something and they said like it just totally reminded me because I completely forgot about this. But like Geno was the backup journeyman, but like when he was with, it was either the Jets or the Giants. Like he had an alteration in the locker room where like he got punched in the face, broke his jaw, and then like was no longer the starter. I think it was the Jets. And then like didn't really get to prove himself, was a backup. And then like I'm really happy he gets this like an opportunity to show here because like Drew Lock I don't think is going to be the answer there. But like Geno could be a serviceable guy for 2 years and maybe they suck this season, but draft a quarterback that he can mentor. So good for him.
Guys, I'll add one more. This is not really for you. This is more for Trevor. Trevor, the Detroit Lions are favored in a game for the first time in 2 years. They are 1.5 point favorites against our Washington Commanders. Guys, how do we see this one playing out?
It's at home, right? For Detroit. Over under is 48.5, so they're expecting some back and forth here. That's a hard one to pick, man.
It is very difficult. I think I'm leaning the Commanders. I really am.
Yeah, I am too. To overcome the home field advantage.
Fuck it, I like Detroit.
Really? All right.
Yeah, I Detroit. I know they scored in garbage time last week, but I think that garbage time can really motivate them going into next week. I mean, Chark got a touchdown. Hawkinson really wasn't involved much, but Swift had a monster game. Tony and I were talking about it before the show, but I think it can happen. I think Detroit will get that win this week.
You're ever going to roll out Jamal Williams off your bench there, Dietrich?
We didn't talk about this at all, but my bench put up the same amount of points as my starting lineup. It was equal distribution, so I put up over 100 on the bench, and a lot of that was Jahan Dotson and Jamal Williams, both in this game, both with 2 touchdowns in week 1, I believe. I'm kind of sitting here, sitting pretty. If you're looking to, get that insurance piece on your team over there, Tony, I'm listening.
Hey, all right. I was thinking more about Goatsy getting any type of production on his team, but all right.
Yeah, don't worry about that guy.
Yeah, dude, you had a pretty good week. You had a pretty good week last week with McCaffrey getting sub 20. So you may want to get Tooney out of your lineup, though. That guy's going to be a bust all year.
Cadaverous Tony, is that who you're referring to? Yeah. He was painful to watch. I mean, I think he was only on the field for like 7 to 10 plays. I don't understand. And Kareem Hunt had himself a hell of a game on my bench. That's another guy that put up a tremendous amount of points.
Yeah. Not that you needed it against Ryan, though.
Thankfully, yeah. I can have a light week against Ryan and still get the dub, thankfully, as you can see. I think this will only be when the wins are happening. The lights behind me will be playing in this podcast.
God, I hope you get Sacco then.
Are you worried about your quarterback, Trey Lance?
We talked about it earlier, guys. I just don't think you can take any insight from this just rain-soaked game we watched for Week 1. I think there's plenty of more opportunities for Lance, and we talked about the uncertainty at the running back position. It's a very strong likelihood that Trey Lance is just the goal line running back. And they're drawing up plays for him to sneak in the end zone and get the points. So I'm not hitting the panic alarm quite yet. I didn't even shop for quarterbacks on the waivers. I still feel confident in Lance. I think he can get it done. I think he has a pretty nice floor, and the ceiling is endless. So I'm still riding high on Trey Lance until proven otherwise.
Trey Lance, 13 rushing attempts. That's more than some starting running backs in our league.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, it would be unfair for us to judge Cole Kmet, who had 0 catches, Fields, who only completed like 8 passes. Like, it's unfair for us to judge Mooney, who didn't have a great, like, any of those players, from last week. However, Herbert did have a touchdown, which was pretty cool. To see they're talking about he could be more involved in that offense. But guys, like a week 2 matchup that we're kind of looking at for Moose Knuckle is we've got Evan, who's 0-1, and Jake, who's 0-1. And Jake got hit with the injury bug. And Evan, is projected to have one of the worst teams in the league. So, like, after losing to Tony last week, Evan needs, this win. And just as bad, Jake needs it as well. Guys, who do you like out of these two?
Man, I think Evan has a good team. I was scared up to the very end. I mean, he had Melvin Gordon going Monday night and, fumbles at the goal line and, real close to beating me this week. And like you said, Jake with the injury bug, those guys aren't coming back immediately. So I'm thinking Evan could roll him over this week.
Yeah, I don't know if Jake is just deceiving us here with the projections because he's got 2 wide receivers still in the lineup that are out that are weighing down his overall projection for the week because Evan looks like he's in a sizable lead, but Jake dealing with injuries to both Chris Godwin and Keenan Allen. But if anybody's going to lose wide receivers, Jake Warren's got the depth to make it happen. I mean, we saw Jarvis. He's got Jarvis Landry on the bench, who had an excellent game week 1, over 100 yards receiving, and he's got Sammy Watkins, who could turn around and make some decent plays in the Chicago matchup. And then he's got your boy Marvin Jones sitting there, Chris. If you had the choice, would you go Marvin Jones or Sammy Watkins?
Oof. Jesus. I'd go Landry for sure. And we just bashed the wide receivers on the Packers for the last 45 minutes. Marvin Jones is like the third option there. Zay Jones got some looks. ETN gets the looks. So I'd go boom bust on Watkins as much as I'm a Jags guy, but I'd go boom bust on Watkins just because there's so many mouths to feed in that Jags offense, which I know is weird to say.
I think I'm going Marvin Jones as a Bears fan. So
I think I'd. Oh, go ahead.
In all likelihood, I think, like I said, Green Bay, Chicago, it's going to be an under game, but I think Indy and Jacksonville could go at it and put some points on the board. So I'd take the upside of that offensive matchup.
What I would tell Jake right now is, Jake, if you are listening, go to the waiver wire. I don't know if he's available, but I would try to find Randall Cobb. Because if there's one Packer who's going to score against the Bears, it's that guy. Right? Like, as well as Big Bob Tiny, but he's not available. Randall Cobb could have a 15-point game out of the blue against the Bears. And that would be, I'd rather roll Randall Cobb than anyone on your bench.
I think Randall Cobb and Sammy Watkins have a very similar floor to them. It could be 0, but it also could be a touchdown, 2 touchdown game on one of these guys. I think it's a little cheeky for Evan to be rolling out DeAndre Carter with the injury to Keenan Allen. He's got DeAndre Carter on the Chargers lining up against Jake. I think it's a nice move. It's a bold move because he was surprisingly productive in the opener after Keenan Allen left due to that hamstring injury.
And Randall Cobb is available. He's projected for 8 points, just under Sammy Watkins. So nice job, D. Very similar projections there.
Yeah, and a surprising scratch of Amari Rodgers on that Packers wide receiver depth chart in the Week 1 matchup. So he's not making the cut, I guess, in Aaron Rodgers' eye.
I mean, they've got, I think, what stands out to me on the waiver wire, Corey Davis, KJ Osborne, Minnesota, or even AJ Green in Arizona. I might be interested in the three of them other than the ones we've talked about here, at least for a 1 week fill-in.
Gross. AJ Green. I don't know if I could do it. Chris, would you rather start AJ Green or OJ Howard?
This should be a segment, guys. We should do "Would you rather" starts, because this is gross. This is nasty. I think I gotta go AJ Green. I don't know why, but like AJ, I don't know. What about you, Tony?
Oh yeah, for sure. No way. No way.
Both options are a plug your nose type of situation.
Gross. If that's your option, your team sucks. You're part of like a 20-team league.
But I had to go. I had to go tight end dumpster diving on waivers here for week 2, and I picked up David Njoku. He didn't have a great week 1, but he plays the Jets week 2, and I think Jacoby Beef Brisket has what it takes to feed that tight end early and often. So that's going to be my pick. I dropped Hunter Henry. I think with Mac Jones being up in the air with his status, and Hunter Henry wasn't getting nearly the time I thought he was going to get on the field. He was splitting reps pretty consistently throughout that game. So I'm trying my luck with David Njoku, leaving OJ Howard on waivers, and maybe keeping a little eye on Hayden Hurst. He had a pretty decent week with Cincinnati, so it was kind of between those two. I also had a waiver claim on our boy in New Orleans, whose name is escaping me right now, Taysom Hill. Tried to give that a little love, but I think somebody beat me to it and paid about 9 or 10 fab to grab him. It might have been Evan.
I think it was Evan, because Evan's probably going to be sneaky for a couple weeks and try to play him in that tight end slot, hoping he plays a little quarterback. But we'll see. Guys, we've got close matchups, all three of us this week, trying to go to 2-0, huh?
Yeah, I'm going up against somebody that also had a bit of the injury bug. Let me pull him up here. Zach. Dak Prescott, that's who went out for him. So definitely helps me. He also had Najee, so barely avoiding that. And still has, like I mentioned earlier, Harrison Butker in the lineup. Shh, don't tell him. Game's tomorrow.
Dude, wouldn't it be something if he does play him, just completely forgets the Thursday night football game? Good thing. Hey, we'll air this on Friday, Tony.
Yeah, guys, give me a little bit more time.
Hysterical. My matchup is against Trevor. He's 0-1. He is currently in last place in the Moose Knuckle League, but that's not to say his team doesn't look kind of primed and ready for a bounce back in week 2. I just talked about Aaron Rodgers going absolutely ham against the Chicago Bears, so that's going to be at the expense of my team. So he's going to be getting those points, and I'm hoping Trey Lance. Do you guys see this? Trey Lance has got a little rain cloud next to him as they play Seattle. That's better not be another rainy mess. I'm gonna absolutely lose it. Yeah, we talked about James Robinson having a bounce back or having a great week against Indy. He's got him in the flex. Mark Andrews is certain to kind of produce against Miami. Of course, Derrick Henry can explode for 200 yards on any given week. So I'm a little concerned, but I'm gonna roll out my. I saw tons of great production from Jamar Chase and AJ Brown at the wide receiver position. Hopefully, Christian McCaffrey just runs all over the Giants. So that part I feel pretty good about. I'm still going to stick with the Indy defense, Chris, even though they're playing Jacksonville. I'm hoping that they can at least get me some decent points there. And then let's hope David Njoku falls into the end zone for a score.
Yeah, I like your team. I think if McCaffrey gets 20 plus, Njoku gets his projections. What's interesting to me is you have Jamar, he has T. Higgins, so depending on what wide receiver gets fed against Dallas, I do like his Cincinnati D against Dallas going against Cooper Rush against you this week. Yeah. James Robinson only projected for 10. Mark Andrews only projected for 14. Seems low, expecting a bounce back week. So Trevor only threw up 76 points. I see him breaking at least 120 this week. That's just how fantasy football works.
We'll see if T. Higgins plays. He's in a concussion protocol, so that'll be real bad if he doesn't for Dietrich, but even better for Dietrich because Jamar will get a lot more work.
Right, and Trevor's got to watch out for Dietrich's boy MVS. He's got to play on Thursday night, depending on T. Higgins. So, not sure how I would play that. I'll be interested to see what he does.
He could always start Odell Beckham Jr. that's still on his team. Oh wait,
I wouldn't laugh if I was Green Bay. I'd be begging Odell to come to the Packers. Guys, I'm playing Sacco this week. I hope to beat his ass. Nothing would make me happier to send him 0-2 after having a fantastic draft. CeeDee Lamb is in his starting lineup still, which how deep his team is. I think he may be better with a little Drake London, but I'm not here to give him advice. He does have Green Bay's defense against Chicago, so he is betting for a beatdown there. So best of luck to you, Sacco. And Dalvin Cook. I do like Dalvin Cook for a bounce back week. That was the James Robinson show last week. I'm sorry, Justin Jefferson show.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's bounce back time for Dalvin.
Hey, Kyler. I mean, he'll continue to feast. He's gonna have to. He's gonna have to throw, man, and he even throws to our running backs there. Getting Las Vegas. It's going to be a tough one, man, but you got the squad to do it. Justin Jefferson, man.
Boy, and you got the absolute explosion performance of Saquon Barkley in week 1, and then getting another great matchup against Carolina week 2. So you think he continues that production, Chris? Because I think there's a very likely chance that we see vintage Saquon Barkley out there again.
Yeah, It brings tears to my eyes because it's good to have him back on my team. I had him as his rookie year when he was, awesome rookie of the year that year, just beast, and didn't play too well. But I reunited with him, and I feel like he's going to bounce back. And he put on a hell of a performance. He looked like the guy of old.
He caught 5-6 balls in week 1. You love to see it.
Yeah, and they upset the Titans in Brian DeBoer's coaching debut. So, I don't know if Danny Jones is the guy, but Barkley looks refreshed and healthy, which is very good.
My favorite stat from all of week 1 was Saquon Barkley hit 21.1 miles per hour. I think that was like the second fastest speed on the week, but the dude is back, man. He is explosive.
Oh.
Yeah,
that's Tony Vester fast. That's Tony Vester at the LA Fitness fast, baby.
Whew. You done already? Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, guys, you like the 2 tight end set this week?
It's hard not to. I agree with you that Robert Tonyan's in for a nice matchup against Chicago, and you're not gonna bench Travis Kelce. So I think it's the move, and I think it's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, if you find out, well, Walker's the second back there. I think the only other person I would put in there would be Burks, and roll with that. At Buffalo, they might have to throw a lot, man. But you're going to be waiting. That's that Monday night game. That's a tough one.
I haven't seen enough out of Burks to sell me. I think that's just one of those rookies where like he kind of got involved early, then cooled off. I think he finished with maybe 50, 60 yards on 3 catches last week in his debut. So not terrible, but he might be one of those rookies who evolves as the season progresses. So if you own Trey Burks, I don't think I would give up on him yet.
No, don't give up quite yet, because Robert Woods looked like a bit of a dud. That was a guy that I was high on coming into the season, and I think Treylon is going to surpass him a little quicker than we thought, because there's all these rumblings in camp that he was just not gonna make it. Or he was going to be buried on the wide receiver depth chart. Burks was just kind of getting some hate thrown his way. We shouldn't have listened, because I think last year they were doing the same thing with Jamar Chase, saying he couldn't catch the ball, and then he just erupted and had an incredible rookie performance. So
yeah, which Burks hasn't done that in week 1 yet, like Chase did. But if Titans start maybe 0-2, 0-3, they might be calling for Tannehill's head out there, and they do have a rookie quarterback on that roster who is a dual threat. So if that's the case, I think that would only be better for Burks in the long term, because I think Tannehill has just been lucky in riding the back of Derrick Henry the last 3 or 4 seasons.
Yeah, maybe. Treylon Burks did get 3 catches for 55 yards.
Woo!
And the next, what am I looking at here? Schedule for the next 5 weeks. They got to play Indy twice. Obviously, they do Buffalo, which is a tougher matchup, like Tony was alluding to, for Monday Night Football. But then, Indy twice, Vegas, Washington. Some beatable defenses in there where you'd like to see some nice production come out of Burks.
We shall see. So, but guys, I got nothing else. Anything you want to say to our listeners?
Man, we squeezed you for an hour and 10 minutes, Chris. Got nothing left.
I'm fucking guys. I'm beat. I'm beat. Go Bears!
That's what I'm talking about.
Tony, I'll let you ride your Bears high horse and take us out here on the podcast.
All right. Well, I'll be sliding out of this one like Justin Fields and saying thank you, gentlemen, for joining me on the podcast tonight. We'll see what transpires on Bears Packers this week. And as always, thank you for Chris, Matt, and myself. Hit us on the social, like and subscribe. And we appreciate you guys. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.